Einstein, Thomas Jefferson, everybody that you've heard of has used some form of this, activating their subconscious. And you will find that you will achieve things that you never thought possible.
How would you find that process, or is it just comes around naturally, or is there some way to more formulaically figure it out?
As I've matured and have done over 2 decades worth of work, I know now what I need to do to arrive at a magical place.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to share with you my process. One thing that I need to do, and you've seen me demonstrate this in our dialogue so far, is to get you, my client, to be clear about what it is that you want.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say something questions, I'm like, what? And I ask you to say it again. By the third time in which you said it, you articulate it the most clear, the clearest way possible. Mm-hmm. Now I kind of have a sense. And then I ask you more questions about your question, and I even get consensus, and I build consensus with Donovan. It's like now we both understand, or all three of us understand, what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's much easier for me to answer, because before it was like wide and open, and I have no idea what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing is, when I ask you more questions, you start to also understand what the answer is going to look like too. So it's not just clarity for me, it's clarity for you. I'm going to get real meta and just explain everything that's gone on so far, okay?
Okay.
So when you start to have clarity, I'm onboarding you, so when I reveal the answer to you, you already bought into it. So you won't say, whoa, that's really foreign. What a weird concept, Chris. Because I brought you there with me. We made the decision together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Even diagramming right now, I'm helping to create a visual for you to understand what it is that you're asking for and to break it down together. So almost every answer I give you, you're going to be like, wow, that was deep. You may walk away from this whole experience like, what are you talking about? I have no idea. But in the moment, we're having some kind of connection and we're sharing ideas together. That's really critical. Okay. Now I have a pretty clear understanding of the problem. Mm-hmm. I've reduced it down to a few key words. Mm-hmm. What I want to do now is I want to empower all that crazy abstract thinking that designers bring to the table. And in those 2 or 3 words that we've highlighted as really important, I start to connect abstract ideas. I give myself internal prompts. Is there something in life that's happened, like an anecdote? Was there an anecdote? Was there a literary reference? Have I experienced this in my childhood? Is this a problem we currently are dealing with? Has somebody else given me a smart answer like this before? And so I allow my mind to wander as far away from these 3 words as possible. And I'm going to go and look at images. I'm going to watch videos. I'm going to read things on the internet. And then what I do is my brain gets saturated. So here's my brain. So I've got, like, say, 3 words. And the words are very specific. I don't just accept any words, as you can see. Okay? And I'm going to saturate my brain with as much external stimulation from art, from music, literature, philosophy, whatever. Anything and everything. From static images to movies, photography, filtered through these 3 words. And then I'm going to do something that very few people do. I'm going to take a break. Very important. I want my brain to process on a subconscious level because it's much smarter than my conscious brain. So I'm not going to think about it anymore. I've done all the work. Now, what happens now is right before bed, I'm going to think about the problem. I'm going to think about everything. I'm going to reflect back on the day. Wow, that movie is cool, this photo. I have this problem, the 3 words. And then I'm just going to go to sleep. And usually, by the time I wake up, either in the middle of the night or in the morning, many answers will have come. Many. And if it hasn't come yet, that's okay. Usually in the shower, it will come. Just allow yourself to float. But always, always have a notebook and a pen handy. Because these ideas are like cotton candy. You bite into it and then they're gone until you write it down. When you write it down, it makes it concrete. So if you have to get some waterproof paper, and they do sell these things, waterproof paper and a pen in the shower, so when you're like, oh, and your brain's floating out there in the universe as you're scrubbing down, because you're doing something that's called an autonomic behavior, something that doesn't require a lot of effort. Breathing doesn't require a lot of effort. Your heart pumping does not require a lot of effort. And if you still haven't had your idea, go for a pretty leisurely walk, or even a run if that's your pace. Just make sure you have that notebook or some form of recording your idea down. Almost all of my problems have been resolved this way. And there are many, many examples of some of the smartest, most productive people employing the exact same technique. Now, I forget who wrote Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, but that writer would employ his subconscious. He literally had a conversation with his subconscious and said, now it's time for you to go to work. I'm going to go to sleep. I need you to write the next story. It's pretty freaky, right? Because we need to make money. And he would go to sleep, and he would dream these wonderful stories, and then he'd wake up and capture that. Einstein, Thomas Jefferson, everybody that you've heard of has used some form of this, activating their subconscious. There are more tools on how to do this, but that'll help you kind of understand, okay? Have clarity in the problem, reduce it down to a few key words, saturate your brain with as much information that's sort of tangentially related to that. Give your brain and yourself a break. And then activate the power of your subconscious to solve these problems. Capture those ideas, and you will find that you will achieve things that you never thought possible.